I stand in the center of my living room, taking in the soft glow of fairy lights strung across exposed brick walls I spent weeks restoring by hand. The banner I crafted from vintage wallpaper scraps catches the light. Happy birthday, Mira. Friends and family mill about, their laughter mingling with the clink of glasses and the warmth of celebration. 4 years of backbreaking renovation work transformed this space from a deteriorating shell into my dream home. Every detail, from the restored crown molding to the hand-stained hardwood floors, carries a piece of my soul. Even Nathan, my usually stoic brother, had whistled in appreciation when he first saw the finished product. A sharp knock at the door cuts through the festivities. An attendant in a crisp uniform stands rigidly in the doorway, holding an elegantly wrapped silver envelope. "Miss Harding?" His voice is clipped, professional. "This requires your immediate attention." My fingers tremble as I untie the delicate bow. The paper feels expensive, heavy with unspoken weight. As I unfold the document inside, the bold letterhead strikes like a physical blow. Notice to vacate. The room spins. 21 days. They're giving me 21 days to leave my home. I look up to find every eye in the room fixed on me. Matthew and Lillian, my parents, exchange glances loaded with something I can't or don't want torrid. Nathan's face has gone pale, his champagne glass frozen halfway to his lips. The silence spreads like poison. "What is this?" My voice comes out strangled, barely recognizable. The beautiful cake on the counter, its candle still unlit, seems to mock me with its cheerful presence. "Now, Mira, let's discuss this rationally." Sienna's voice cuts through the tension, smooth as silk and just as cold. My cousin steps forward, her designer heels clicking against the floors I spent weeks refinishing. "The market is incredibly hot right now. It would be foolish not to capitalize on such an opportunity." Capitalize? The word tastes bitter. This is my home. I've put 4 years of my life into this place. The apartment remains in Matthew and Lillian's names, Sienna continues, as if explaining something simple to a child. The financial potential is simply too significant to ignore. Memories flash through my mind like a cruel slideshow. Sienna's knowing smiles at family gatherings, Nathan's awkward silences, my parents' evasive answers about finalizing the property transfer. All those little moments I dismissed, now forming a picture I can't unsee. "You knew." I turn to my parents, my voice cracking. "You've known this was coming." Lillian wrings her hands, unable to meet my eyes. Matthew clears his throat. "It's just business, sweetheart. Nothing personal." Nothing personal. The renovation receipts in my office upstairs. The permits. The thousands of hours of work. The dreams I'd poured into every inch of this space. Nothing personal. My hands clench into fists, crumpling the notice. Tears burn behind my eyes, but I refuse to let them fall. Not here. Not in front of them. I retreat to my study, my sanctuary. Blueprints and renovation sketches cover the wall's testament to everything I've built, everything they're trying to take away. The city lights twinkle beyond the window, unchanged and uncaring. What am I going to do next? The question hangs in the air like smoke, choking but clarifying. Because deep down, I already know the answer. This isn't just about an apartment anymore. This is about justice, about truth, about family bonds twisted into weapons. And I'm done being their target. My gaze shifts to the detailed timeline pinned above my discovery permit. Every renovation milestone meticulously documented. Sienna might think she's orchestrated the perfect betrayal, but she has no idea how thoroughly I document everything. Every email, every conversation, every suspicious glance. I run my fingers along the edge of my grandmother's silver locket, drawing strength from its familiar weight. Sienna's calculated treachery ends here. I'll expose every manipulation, every lie she's whispered in my parents' ears. She thinks I'll break quietly, disappear with dignity. She's about to learn how wrong she is. My hands shake as I spread the renovation documents across my desk, each one a piece of the life I've built here. The soft glow of my desk lamp illuminates permit applications, contractor agreements, and material receipts, 4 years of dreams crystallized in paper and ink. Something catches my eye. The signature on the latest building permit doesn't match the others. I grab my phone, pulling up a photo of the original document. Stomach lurches. The dates are wrong, the new permit is backdated 3 months. But I remember filing it just 6 weeks ago. No, I mutter, diving deeper into the stack. More inconsistencies emerge. Notary stamps with mismatched dates, permit applications with subtle alterations, contract drafts that shouldn't exist. Each discovery hits like a physical blow, forming a pattern I can't ignore. The wall of evidence before me tells a story of calculated deception. Sienna hasn't just been planning this eviction, she's been orchestrating it for months, manipulating documents and falsifying permits. My cousin's perfectly manicured fingerprints are all over this betrayal. A soft knock interrupts my investigation. Nathan stands in the doorway, his tall frame casting a long shadow. His face is drawn, guilty. I've never seen my usually confident brother look so small. Can we talk? His voice cracks slightly. I gesture to the chair across from my desk, not trusting myself to speak. Nathan sits, his eyes fixed on his hands. I should have told you sooner, he begins, the words tumbling out in a rush. At Mom and Dad's anniversary party last month, I overheard something. My heart pounds as Nathan describes the scene. Sienna and Damien, CEO of Meridian Real Estate Group, tucked away in Dad's study. Their voices carried through the partially open door Sienna's smooth confidence, Damien's calculated interest. She was laying out the whole plan. Nathan continues, running a hand through his disheveled hair. Talking about market values, profit margins, quick sales. She made it sound so clinical, like she wasn't destroying someone's home, like she wasn't destroying your home. The betrayal cuts deeper with each word. And you said nothing. I convinced myself it wasn't real, Nathan whispers. That Sienna was just talking, dreaming big like she always does. But then I saw her meeting with Mom and Dad, planting doubts, playing on their fears about the market crashing. I turned back to my evidence wall, seeing it with new clarity. A pattern emerges in the email threads, each one meticulously crafted to exploit our family's weaknesses. To Dad, Sienna emphasized market volatility and lost opportunities. To Mom, she spoke of securing their retirement, playing on her lifelong financial insecurities. The timestamps paint a devastating picture. 3 months of systematic manipulation. Look at this, I say, pulling up an email chain. She's been feeding Damien information about our family finances for weeks. Guest lists from family events, renovation budgets, even Mom and Dad's retirement plans. My voice shakes with anger. She's not just selling the apartment, she's selling us out. The scale of Sienna's betrayal becomes clear as I organize the evidence. My cousin, always the perfect one, the successful one, has been orchestrating this scheme with the precision of a surgeon. And Damiani's name appears in email after email, his influence casting a long shadow over our family's future. His reputation in the real estate world makes him dangerous. His connection to Sienna makes him lethal. My phone buzzes. Elsie's name lights up the screen. She's been helping me compile evidence since the party, her background in corporate law proving invaluable. I found something, she says without preamble. Those permit alterations? They're tied to a series of property deals Damien's company pushed through last year. Same pattern, same tactics. Send everything, I tell her, already clearing space on my desk. We need. A text from an unknown number cuts me off. The message makes my blood run cold. Back off now, or you'll regret it. Some things should stay buried. Asterisk. I show Nathan the text. His face pales. Mira, maybe. Number. I cut him off. Steel in my voice. I'm done backing off. I'm done being manipulated. I reach for the bottom drawer of my filing cabinet, pulling out a folder I'd almost forgotten about. My hands steady as I open it, revealing one final piece of evidence zone that could bring Sienna's whole scheme crashing down. Nathan leans forward. What is that? I look up at my brother, a grim smile playing at my lips. That depends on how badly Sienna wants to play this game. The crystal chandeliers of the Grand Regency Hotel cast dancing shadows across polished marble as I navigate through clusters of silk dresses and tailored suits. Tonight's charity gala should be about supporting local historic preservation. Instead, my phone buzzes incessantly with notifications as Sienna's carefully crafted lies spread like wildfire across social media. I slip away from the crowd, my heels clicking against the floor, as I make my way to the private lounge. The leather chair creaks as I sink into it, pulling out my laptop. My hands tremble slightly as I log into my email, but my resolve hardens as I dig deeper into Sienna's corporate account archives. Got you, I whisper, opening a series of emails that make my blood run cold. The timestamps don't match the metadata. The permit numbers are sequential when they should be random. Every falsified document is like another knife in my back, but it's also ammunition. A notification pops up, another live stream from Sienna. Her voice flows smooth as honey through my earbuds. Of course, we're deeply concerned about the structural integrity of the renovations. The safety of our community must come first. My fingers curl into fists. The renovation permits are spotless. I spent months ensuring every detail was perfect. But there it is on the screen. Doctored inspection reports casting shadows on my work, carefully leaked to maximize damage. The recording I discover next nearly stops my heart. Sienna's voice crisp and clear. The property values in that neighborhood are about to skyrocket, Damien. Once we force a quick sale, the returns will be astronomical. A male voice, Damien, chuckles in response. Your cousin won't know what hit her. I sit back, my mind racing. The gala continues beyond the lounge doors, a symphony of clinking glasses and polite laughter. Sienna is out there right now, probably working the room with that practiced smile. Every handshake, every air kiss is another thread in her web of manipulation. The next evening, the Bellevue Manor dining room breathes old money. Crystal stemware catches the light, white tablecloths gleam immaculate. The perfect stage for what comes next. I wait until the main course arrives, then stand, my chair scraping against hardwood. I have something to share. My voice carries across the table. Sienna's fork pauses halfway to her lips. I have copies of every email you've sent regarding my property. My hands shake, but my voice stays steady, including the ones where you discuss falsifying inspection reports with Damien. The silence is absolute. Sienna's practiced smile doesn't waver, but her knuckles whiten around her fork. Mira, darling, you're making a scene. Perhaps we should discuss this privately. Like you discussed my eviction privately? I pull out my phone, clicking play. Sienna's voice fills the room. The property values in that neighborhood are about to skyrocket. The color drains from her face. That's enough. Sienna's voice cracks like a whip. You're clearly unstable. Number. The word comes from behind me. I turn to see Nathan standing, his dinner napkin crumpled in his fist. She's not unstable. I heard you, Sienna. That day in your office with Damien. I heard everything. Elsie rises next, her eyes blazing. I have copies of the original permits, every inspection report. Would you like me to show everyone here the difference between Mira's actual renovation documentation and your creative edits? Something shifts in the room. A current of whispers, the rustle of silk as people lean forward. I feel it in my bones, the moment when truth begins to outweigh lies. Sienna's mask slips for just a second, revealing the calculation beneath. I retreat to my study later that night, surrounded by the evidence of years of work. Blue permits line the walls, each one a testament to dreams built brick by brick. The city sparkles beyond my window. My city, my home, my truth. I reach for my grandmother's locket, its silver warm against my palm. The weight of it grounds me as I begin methodically organizing the evidence. Each document goes into a color-coded folder, each digital file uploaded to secure cloud storage. My attorney Jonathan's business card sits on my desk, his reputation for handling fraud cases exactly what I need. My phone buzzes, a message from Samantha Clark, the journalist who's been following the local real estate market for years. Another from Gregory Holt, the community board president. Allies gathering, drawn to the scent of corruption exposed. The last piece falls into place when Uncle Robert calls. His voice is heavy with guilt. Sienna's been working on this for months, Mira. We should have seen it sooner. Should have said something. I hang up and stare at the final file on my desktop. The recording I haven't shared yet. The one that captures Sienna and Damien in an unguarded moment, spelling out their entire scheme. My secret weapon, waiting for the perfect moment. Tomorrow is the town hall meeting. Tomorrow, everything changes. The question isn't whether I'm ready. The question is, are they? The town hall buzzes with tension. Every seat is filled. Residents, investors, reporters clutching notepads. Camera phones point toward the podium like accusing fingers. The utilitarian space is a far cry from Sienna's carefully curated galas, but power feels different here. Raw, real. My laptop connects to the projector with a soft click. The screen behind me illuminates, blank and waiting. In my pocket, the flash drive feels heavy with truth. Thank you all for coming. My voice carries across the room, steady despite the pounding of my heart. I'm here to share some information about the proposed development deal for Highland Avenue. Sienna shifts in her seat in the third row, her designer suit stark against the metal folding chairs. Damien sits beside her, his usual smooth confidence showing hairline cracks. I pull up the first document. These are the original renovation permits. My fingers move to open the video file, the recording that will shatter their carefully constructed lies. The screen flickers, goes black. Murmurs ripple through the crowd. Someone coughs. I feel sweat trickle down my spine as I click frantically, trying to restore the connection. Technical difficulties? Sienna's voice drips with fake sympathy. Perhaps we should move on to the number. I straighten my shoulders, meeting her gaze directly. We're going to see this through. Every last second of it. The truth doesn't need perfect timing. It just needs to be heard. The screen flickers back to life. The rosewood banquet hall glitters with false promises. Crystal chandeliers cast rainbow prisms across the champagne flutes and designer dresses of Silicon Valley's elite. My heels sink into thick carpet as I make my way through the crowd, each step measured, deliberate. This engagement party Sienna and Damien's crowning achievement is about to become their undoing. I catch my reflection in a gilded mirror, structured black blazer, hair swept into an elegant chignon, grandmother's silver locket gleaming at my throat. My hands don't shake as I pull out my phone and send the signal to Elsie. 3 quick taps. Showtime. The projector screen descends silently behind the stage where Sienna stands delivering her speech, her voice dripping with practiced charm. Damien and I are so blessed to have such wonderful family and friends. Her words fade as the first document appears on screen. My original renovation permits, dated and notarized, followed by her forged versions. The differences are stark, damning. Murmurs ripple through the crowd. Sienna's voice falters as she spots the projection. Her champagne glass trembles, catching the light like a crystallized warning. I think, I say, my voice carrying across the sudden hush, we should discuss the real estate deal you've been orchestrating. I step onto the stage, each click of my heels against hardwood a punctuation mark. Specifically, how you forged documents to steal my home. Sienna's perfectly lined lips part in shock. Mira, this is hardly the time. Actually, it's exactly the time. I pull out my phone again, and the recording fills the banquet hall. Sienna's voice, clear and cold, discussing the fraudulent sale with Damien. Their words echo off marble floors and crystal stems. Once we get rid of her, the property's ours. Investors shift uncomfortably in their seats. I spot Mrs. Chen, one of our biggest backers, leaning forward with narrowed eyes. 2 real estate developers exchange worried glances. The truth spreads like wine across white carpet. It's impossible to ignore, impossible to hide. This is absurd. Sienna sputters, her composure cracking. Mira is clearly unstable. She's always been jealous of my success, my relationship with Damien. The documents speak for themselves. I cut in, gesturing to the screen, where proof of her deception continues to scroll. Every forged permit, every manipulated contract, every secret meeting, all meticulously documented. These are obviously fabricated. Sienna snaps, but her voice has lost its silk. She turns to the crowd, desperation bleeding through her perfect makeup. You all know me. I would never. I can verify these documents. Nathan's voice rings out as he stands, tablet in hand. My brother's face is pale but determined. I have the original email threads right here. Elsie steps forward next, her own evidence ready. I have the notary's sworn statement confirming these signatures were forged. The room erupts in whispers. Damien, I notice, has gone very still, his knuckles white around his champagne flute. The grand romance of the evening sours as reality sets in. Their perfect facade is crumbling, one exposed lie at a time. Sienna makes one last attempt to salvage her reputation. This is nothing but a vindictive display from a failed designer who has proof of everything. I finish for her. I pull out a final folder slim, elegant, devastating, including evidence of something much bigger than a simple property grab. The folder's contents spill across the projection screen, documents linking Sienna and Damien to a wider web of real estate fraud, each connection more damning than the last. The silence that follows is absolute. Even the crystal chandeliers seem to hold their breath. The question isn't just about one stolen home anymore, is it? I ask, my voice carrying to every corner of the suddenly airless room. It's about how deep this deception really goes, and who else might be involved. I lock eyes with the assembled investors, the influential family members, the real estate moguls who came to celebrate love, but found fraud instead. Their faces reflect varying degrees of shock, anger, and dawning realization. Some already have their phones out, no doubt calling their lawyers. In the end, it's Mrs. Chen who breaks the silence. I believe, she says, rising from her seat with elegant dignity, we all need to reevaluate our business relationships. Her words fall like a judge's gavel in the stunned quiet. I step back from the microphone, my part done. The evidence speaks for itself now, spreading through the crowd like wildfire. As chaos erupts around me, Damien arguing with his lawyer in harsh whispers, investors demanding explanations, family members choosing sides, I catch my reflection again in that gilded mirror. The woman staring back at me isn't broken anymore. She's brilliant, fierce, unstoppable. But there's more to come. As I scan the documents one final time, names jump out at me: corporations, shell companies, a web of connections far beyond Sienna and Damien. This isn't just about my apartment. It's about an entire network of property fraud, stretching across the city like a spider's web. Damien's face has lost all color as he stares at the screen, no doubt recognizing the implications. His perfect posture crumbles as he loosens his tie, eyes darting between the exits. He knows as well as I do this exposure threatens not just his engagement, but the entire carefully constructed empire he and his corporate partners have built. I step back to the microphone one last time. When faced with betrayal, I say, my voice clear and steady, do we stay silent to keep the peace, or do we expose the truth no matter the cost? The question hangs in the air like crystal chimes, a challenge to everyone present. In the tense silence that follows, I catch fragments of whispered conversations. How deep does this go? Who else is involved? What other properties? And I'm just beginning. I grip the edges of the podium at the Langston Convention Center, my knuckles white against the polished wood. The crowd before me ripples with tension faces I've known my whole life, now twisted with uncertainty. Sienna stands at the back, her designer heels planted firmly on marble floors, megaphone raised like a weapon. My legal team from Harrison and Yale will be filing immediate action, she announces, her voice amplified and distorted. Anyone supporting Mira's fraudulent claims will face severe consequences. My tablet chimes with notifications, dozens of them. On the screen, doctored images flood social media, receipts with altered dates, permits with fabricated signatures. My renovation project, my 4 years of work, painted as a web of deception. Sienna's PR team works fast, flooding every platform with their carefully crafted lies. The evidence clearly shows systematic fraud. Sienna continues, her voice echoing through the megaphone. Years of financial mismanagement and permit violations. She gestures to the screen behind her, where manipulated video clips play on loop moments from renovation updates, twisted and edited to support her narrative. Independent media representatives huddle over laptops, their faces illuminated by screens as they fact-check in real time. The first whispers of doubt ripple through the crowd. I catch fragments of conversation. The timestamps don't match. These signatures. But I work faster. Speaking of fraud, I say into the microphone, my voice steady despite the thunder of my heart, let's talk about evidence. I tap my tablet, and the convention center's massive display screen flickers to life. The first email appears Sienna's message to Damien, timestamp clear as crystal. Once we force the sale, the profit margins will be astronomical. Mira's too naive to fight back. Murmurs ripple through the crowd. Sienna's megaphone wavers. With methodical precision, I work through my presentation. Each piece of evidence lands like a physical blow. Here's the original permit application, and here another swipe is Sienna's forged version. Note the identical signature, pixel for pixel. Forgery software leaves traces, cousin. The crowd shifts closer to the screen. A journalist in the front row types furiously on her laptop. I catch Nathan's eye and the audience nods, almost imperceptibly. Behind him, influential investors lean forward, their expressions hardening as the truth unfolds. This is absurd, Sienna snaps, but her voice cracks. Those documents are clearly time-stamped and notarized. I pull my grandmother's locket from beneath my blazer, clicking it open to reveal a tiny USB drive, including the audio recording from your meeting with Damien last week, the one where you outlined the entire scheme. The megaphone slips from Sienna's fingers, clattering against marble. The sound echoes through suddenly still air. I reach into my pocket and withdraw a single business card, crisp white against my dark sleeve. The logo gleams. Jonathan Reed Law Offices. With deliberate slowness, I hold it up for the crowd to see, then let it fall. It lands face up on the podium, a declaration of war in letterhead. The power in the room shifts like a physical current. Where Sienna once commanded attention, she now stands isolated. Damien steps away from her, his phone already at his ear. Even from here, I catch fragments. Withdraw immediately. Reputation risk can't be associated. The formal lawsuit will be filed today, I announce. Anyone involved in this conspiracy has 24 hours to come forward voluntarily. After that, I let the silence hang, heavy with promise. Long-standing family members who once wavered now step forward. Uncle Marcus, his voice carrying across the room. This manipulation ends now. Aunt Helen, typically reserved, adds her public denouncement. Each declaration lands like another nail in the coffin of Sienna's scheme. The convention center erupts in controlled chaos. Investors pull out phones. Family members cluster in urgent discussion. But I keep my eyes on Sienna as her carefully constructed world crumbles. Her face drains of color as her most powerful allies, family friends, business partners, even her PR team begin to distance themselves, creating a visible void around her. In the aftermath, I stand alone in the now hushed convention center. My hands move mechanically, gathering evidence files and storing backup drives. Each document represents a piece of my life I've had to fight to protect. The renovation receipts, the permit applications. 4 years of dreams defended through sheer force of will. The quiet feels heavy, meaningful. I settle into a corner chair, allowing myself a moment to absorb the magnitude of what's just happened. My reflection in the darkened windows shows someone changed harder, perhaps, but unbroken. That's when I see it. Buried beneath the chaos of the past few weeks, a new email catches my eye. The sender, an anonymous corporate whistleblower. The subject line makes my breath catch. Sienna's scheme, just the tip of the iceberg. I stare at the words, my mind racing. The email suggests a pattern of corruption extending far beyond my apartment, beyond Sienna and Damien. A network of real estate fraud that could shake the entire market. The convention center's lights dim, signaling the end of the event. But for me, this feels less like an ending and more like a prelude. I close my tablet, the whistleblower's email burning in my thoughts. Some people say revenge is best served cold, but I've learned it's best served with irrefutable evidence and perfect timing. What do you think is the most satisfying part of seeing a villain brought to justice? Would you ever risk everything to expose the truth? Morning light streams through the expansive windows of my living room, casting long shadows across the restored hardwood floors. I pause in the center of the space, letting my fingers trail along the smooth grain of wood I'd spent countless weekends sanding and staining. Each board tells a story not just of renovation, but of reclamation. The soft glow catches the brass handles of my grandmother's antique sideboard, now proudly displayed against the exposed brick wall I'd painstakingly restored. My reflection fragments across its polished surface, a woman transformed, standing taller, eyes bright with hard-won wisdom. I moved to adjust a frame on the wall of photograph from that fateful night at Langston Convention Center. Sienna's engagement party. The night everything changed. In the image, crystal chandeliers cast fractured light across shocked faces as I stood at the podium, evidence in hand. The memory still bites, but the pain has mellowed into something else. Something stronger. Nathan appears in the doorway, his presence a quiet comfort rather than the source of tension it once was. "Coffee's ready," he says, holding out a steaming mug. The easy gesture speaks volumes about how far we've come. He takes in the photograph, his expression thoughtful. Sometimes I still can't believe how it all played out. Neither can I. I accept the coffee, breathing in its rich aroma. But every step led us here. The doorbell chimes, and I welcome my guests, the ones who stood by me when everything fell apart. Elsie arrives first, her warm embrace as fierce as ever. Jordan follows, his shoulders still tight with the weight of his own workplace betrayal. Others filter in, friends, family members who chose truth over manipulation, allies who helped expose the corruption that had poisoned my family for so long. We gather in the dining area, where laughter and genuine conversation have replaced the hollow pleasantries of the past. Soft jazz plays from the vintage record Player Another restoration project that proved more rewarding than expected. The music mingles with the clinking of glasses and honest conversation, creating a symphony of healing. I find Jordan by the window, his gaze distant. "How are you holding up?" I ask, recognizing the look of someone wrestling with betrayal's bitter taste. "Some days are harder than others," he admits. "The legal team says we have a strong case, but..." He trails off, fingers tapping nervously against his glass. "But you're worried about the personal cost," I finish. "The sleepless nights, the constant second-guessing." I lean against the windowsill, choosing my words carefully. When Sienna first orchestrated my eviction, I thought I'd never trust anyone again. But here's what I learned. Exposing the truth doesn't just protect you, it protects everyone they might have hurt next. Jordan's shoulders relaxed slightly. How did you stay so focused? Keep fighting when it felt impossible. I documented everything. I explain. Every conversation, every email, every suspicious glance. Build your case like you're constructing a house-solid foundation first. Then add each piece with purpose. And most importantly, I meet his eyes. Remember, you're not alone. The gathering continues into early evening, but eventually I find myself alone on the balcony. The sun breaks over the horizon, painting the sky in shades of promise. Below, the city awakens, unaware that its skyline now represents something different, to me not a reminder of what I almost lost, but a testament to what I've gained. I pull out my tablet, fingers flying across the screen as I refine my latest project, a community initiative to protect others from similar exploitation. The program will offer legal resources, documentation strategies, and most importantly, a network of support for those facing institutional betrayal. The sunrise bathes my face in warmth as memories flash through my mind. The day I received the eviction notice, the night I discovered Sienna's manipulation, the moment I finally exposed the truth to everyone at her engagement party. Each memory strengthens my resolve. This apartment, once a battlefield of family loyalty versus justice, now serves as command central for something bigger than myself. I lean against the railing, feeling the solid metal beneath my palms. The city stretches before me, full of stories waiting to be rewritten, wrongs waiting to be righted. My own story has shifted from victim to victor, but it's not the end. It's a beginning of sunrise breaking through the longest night, illuminating the path forward for others who might follow. This is my new purpose, my true renovation project. And this time, I'm building something that can never be taken away. How do you think overcoming betrayal can change a person's life? Share your thoughts and any similar experiences in the comments below.
The train station attendant peers at my ticket, then at his screen, his weathered face creasing with confusion. Miss Anderson, this reservation has already been scanned. About 20 minutes ago. That's impossible. My fingers fumble with my phone as the anniversary card envelope slips from my grasp, landing face down on the scuffed tile floor. I have the confirmation right here. The attendant's eyes soften with pity. Someone else must have used your ticket. The 11:40 to Charleston left on schedule. My heart pounds against my ribs as I bend to retrieve the envelope. Inside is the handwritten note detailing every moment of the surprise anniversary trip I've spent months planning for my parents' 35th. The bistro reservations, the Sunset Harbor cruise, all of it meticulously arranged during late nights after my regular shifts ended. My phone buzzes. Ezra, winds never seen fall colors down south. You always say summer's not your thing. Hope it's okay, figured it just made sense. The message blurs as I stare at it. My brother replaced me with his girlfriend. Without asking, without warning. I glance up at the large station clock 11:58. The train left 18 minutes ago, carrying my parents, my brother, and his girlfriend Wynne to the trip I had created. 2 months of overtime shifts blur in my memory. The weekend sacrificed to earn the extra $7,800 for the luxury package. I had nearly cried when I found Le Petit Jardin, the exact French bistro my father had described from their honeymoon. Your mother's eyes lit up when they brought out that chocolate soufflé. He'd said every anniversary since I was a child. My mother's voice echoes from last Christmas. Ezra's bringing so much excitement to our lives with his new girlfriend, the fond smile she'd given him. The same smile I'd been working to earn for years. My fingers hover over the keyboard. I type carefully, each word deliberate. You took my seat. That was my gift to them. The response comes instantly. Don't be dramatic. You can still join us next weekend. The familiar burn of dismissal spreads through my chest. My hands finally stop trembling as I silence my phone and slip it into my pocket. The station noises fade around me as I turn away from the departures board. Miss, do you need help with another booking? The attendant calls after me. Number. My voice sounds steadier than I feel. There's nothing left to book. 15 minutes later, in the parking lot, I try calling my parents. Neither answers. I open Facebook, and there it is posted 3 minutes ago. My mother, father, Ezra, and a smiling blonde woman I recognize as Wynne from her profile pictures. All four beaming from the train platform. My mother's caption reads, Surprise anniversary trip. So blessed to have our wonderful son and his amazing win along for this special weekend. No mention of who planned it, who paid for it, who was supposed to be there. I sit behind the wheel of my car, not yet turning the key. The weight of my identity and our family settles heavier on my shoulders. I am the steady one, the reliable daughter, the one who doesn't cause waves. Speaking up risks everything, the fragile approval I've spent a lifetime earning, the role I've carefully maintained. But saying nothing means accepting that I am furniture in their lives, useful, necessary, but ultimately replaceable. My phone buzzes again with a text from my mother. Such a lovely start to the trip. The dining car is serving the most delightful lunch. Wynn knows so much about wine pairings. In that moment, I know they were aware of the switch. They approved it, perhaps even suggested it. The realization doesn't hurt as much as I expected. Instead, a strange clarity washes over me as I start the car. For the first time in years, I'm not rushing to meet someone else's expectations. The afternoon stretches before me, unexpectedly my own. That same day, the notification pings from my phone sound like tiny accusations. I almost ignore them, but habit forces my finger to tap the Facebook icon. My mother has been posting. A lot. The first photo appears on my screen. My parents seated at a restaurant table overlooking Charleston Harbor, champagne flutes raised in a toast. Wynn sits beside them, her blonde hair catching the sunset light, her hand holding aloft one of my handwritten itinerary cards, celebrating 35 amazing years with the most thoughtful anniversary surprise. So grateful for our amazing children who made this weekend perfect. My fingers tighten around my phone as I physically back away from the screen, as if distance might somehow make the betrayal less real. I scroll through more photos. The harbor cruise I'd booked, the French bistro I'd researched for weeks, the corner table with the harbor view I'd specifically requested. In every image, Wynn occupies the space where I should be standing. Under each post, Wynn has commented, "Happy to be part of your special day," followed by heart emojis. Ezra appears in fewer photos, usually with his arm around Wynn, looking pleased with himself. I set my phone down and press my palms against my kitchen counter. The cold granite grounds me as the room seems to tilt sideways. 4 days later, they return. I hear them before I see them, their voices floating through the front door of the house, my house that I have allowed them to live in rent-free for 5 years. "Mora?" My mother calls out as they enter. "We're home! Come see what Wynn found for you." They settle in my living room like they're returning to their natural habitat. My father sinks into his usual armchair, my mother arranges herself on the sofa, and Ezra drops his duffel bag in the entryway where someone will inevitably trip over it. The living room suddenly feels smaller, as if their presence expands to fill every corner. "Look what Wynn picked out for everyone." My mother holds out a small paper bag. Inside are refrigerator magnets with Charleston landmarks. Mine has a palmetto tree. Wasn't that thoughtful? My father beams. She remembered something for each of us. I accept the magnet, running my thumb over its smooth surface. "Thanks," I say, though Wynn isn't even here to hear it. "You should have seen the spot Wynn found for our anniversary photo," my father continues, pulling out his phone to show me. "Right where the harbor meets the city. Perfect lighting." The image shows my parents posed exactly as I had planned, the historic church spire in the background, the harbor water catching the late afternoon light. I had described this exact spot in my planning notes. "The whole trip was such a wonderful surprise," my mother says, her voice warm with pleasure. Ezra really outdid himself. I look at my brother, who has the decency to avoid my eyes. Something snaps inside me, and I decide to stop being invisible. I won't let them hurt me anymore. "It was my idea," he says, "to recreate their honeymoon spot." My idea. The words strike like physical blows. The French bistro I'd spent weeks tracking down, the chocolate soufflé I'd specially arranged, all claimed by my brother with 2 simple words. "Wynn wants to plan our 40th too." My mother adds, smiling. "Isn't that sweet? She's already talking about a river cruise in Europe. She says 5 years is plenty of time to save up." 5 years. The exact amount of time my parents have lived in my house without contributing to the mortgage or utilities. The time I've spent helping them rebuild after my father's layoff, making sure they didn't lose their dignity or comfort while they got back on their feet. The weight of it all presses down on me, co-signing Ezra's apartment lease when no landlord would take a chance on his spotty employment history. Covering his community college textbooks because he was finding himself. bailing him out when he lost yet another job because his boss didn't understand his creative process. I stand in the doorway, watching them discuss future plans in my living room, planning more ways to use my resources while erasing my contributions. In their eyes, I'm not a daughter or sister. I'm the steady foundation everyone else builds upon, the reliable backdrop against which their dramas play out. I've got some work to finish, I say, though no one seems particularly concerned when I leave the room. Back in my home office, I open my email and search for the confirmation from the travel agency. There it is, the receipt for $7,800, the entire anniversary package paid in full from my account. Bistro reservations, harbor cruise, hotel suite with champagne service. Every detail I'd planned, every expense I'd covered, every hour I'd worked to make it happen. As I stare at that receipt showing the $7,800 I'd spent to give them their perfect anniversary, I wonder, should I demand the acknowledgement I deserved? Or was it time to stop being their foundation entirely? Speaking up might salvage our relationship, but walking away would protect what little remained of my dignity. The receipt sits on my screen, undeniable proof of what I've given, and what they've taken. The next day, my phone buzzes with a notification. Ezra has tagged me in a photo series titled, "Family Traditions Continue." I tap to open it, my coffee cup suspended halfway to my lips. The first image shows Wynne sitting on the wooden swing at Lake Harriet where my father used to push me for hours as a child. The next shows her at Miller's ice cream parlor, eating the butter pecan my grandfather introduced to our family. In the third, she stands beaming beside our parents at the entrance to the community theater where I performed in every summer production until college. "Your brother's girlfriend is so sweet," my neighbor Mrs. Lawson mentions when I collect my mail the next morning. "Your mother was telling me how Wynne reminds her of you when you were younger but with more spark." She pats my arm. "Almost family already," she said. The comment lodges like a splinter under my skin as I sort through bills at my kitchen counter. My phone rings Mom's ringtone. "Honey, Wynne has that symposium next month, and I thought she could stay in your guest room. The hotel prices are ridiculous downtown." "My guest room?" I set down the electric bill. "When exactly?" "That Thursday through Sunday. She won't be any trouble. You'll barely know she's there." I close my eyes, picturing a stranger in my space. "I'll have to check my schedule." "No need to go to any trouble. She has your spare key already." The words hit like cold water. "She has my what?" "Your father gave her the copy from the hook in our kitchen, for emergencies." Before I can respond, she switches topics to Dad's upcoming doctor's appointment. After we hang up, I sit in the sudden silence of my kitchen, the refrigerator's hum abnormally loud. Later that week, I open Instagram to discover Wynne has posted a TikTok of herself in my living room. The fireplace I restored plank by plank after buying this house glows behind her as she performs some dance trend. The logs I stacked on the hearth last fall are burning brightly. My throat tightens at the sight of my grandmother's quilt draped over the arm of the couch where Wynne eventually flops down, laughing at something off camera. "Just making myself at home," reads her caption, followed by 3 heart emojis. When I ask Ezra about it the next day, he shrugs. "She was cold. The furnace at our place is acting up again." "You could have asked." "Why? You never minded before when I used your stuff." The memory of my missing circular saw surfaces. Speaking of which, where are my tools from the garage? Borrowed them for a project at work. He grabs a soda from my refrigerator. "I'll bring them back sometime." "When exactly?" He rolls his eyes. "Why are you being so uptight lately?" That night, I can't sleep. Every time my phone buzzes, I flinch, anticipating another boundary being crossed. At 3 a.m., I pull out my financial records and begin creating a spreadsheet. Line by line, I document every payment I've made to or for my family over the past 5 years. The co-signed lease for Ezra's apartment. The 3 months of rent I covered when he was between jobs. The property taxes on the house my parents live in my house. The car insurance. The medical bills when Dad needed that procedure his insurance wouldn't fully cover. The total at the bottom of the spreadsheet stuns me. $157,840.2.36. I watch the numbers in disbelief. This is going to end soon. At work the next morning, I stare blankly at structural calculations that usually absorb my full attention. My coworker Carol slides a coffee onto my desk. "Earth to Mora," she says, leaning against my cubicle wall. "You've been looking at that same beam calculation for 20 minutes. I rub my eyes. Sorry. Family stuff. She studies me for a moment, her weathered face softening. Some people only see your value when they have to pay for what they've been getting for free. The words echo in my head all day. Sunday arrives with its familiar rhythm. I wake early to prep for the monthly dinner I host at my house. My parents arrive at 4, bringing a salad Mom prepared in my kitchen earlier that week without mentioning she'd stopped by. Ezra comes late as usual with a 6-pack of beer that will remain in my refrigerator until next month. We sit around the dining table my grandfather built, passing dishes between us. Mom tastes the roast and nods approvingly. This turned out well, she says, as if surprised. Oh, before I forget, I told Wynne she could host her book club here next Thursday. That back sunroom of yours gets such nice light in the afternoons. My fork freezes halfway to my mouth. You what? Her book club. 6 ladies, very respectable. They're reading that new historical novel everyone's talking about. I set my fork down with deliberate care. Did you ask me if you could offer my home to your son's girlfriend? The table falls silent. Dad's eyes dart between Mom and me. Why would I need to? Mom looks genuinely puzzled. We're family. Something inside me shifts, like the final support beam giving way before collapse. Being family doesn't mean taking me for granted. My voice sounds different, steadier than I expected. It doesn't mean you can give out my keys, use my fireplace, borrow my tools indefinitely, or offer my home to people I barely know without asking. Maura, what's gotten into you? Dad's forehead creases with concern. Reality. I stand up, napkin falling to the floor. I've been subsidizing this family for years, and you all act like it's nothing, like I'm nothing except what I provide. That's not fair, Ezra protests, but his eyes don't meet mine. What's not fair is realizing I don't need to keep sacrificing to be worthy of respect. The words feel like oxygen after years underwater. Not from you, not from anyone. Monday morning, I ask Carol to lunch. Over sandwiches, I explain the situation. I need to establish some boundaries with my parents. I say, picking at my chips, they've been living in my house for 5 years without contributing. You need a formal rental agreement. She doesn't hesitate. I went through this with my sister last year. I can help you draft something. By Wednesday, I have a template. Carol introduces me to Thomas from the commercial division of her real estate office. Market rate for a 3-bedroom in your neighborhood is about $2,100 monthly, he tells me, scrolling through comparable listings on his tablet. Given the current housing shortage, you're actually on the low end with that figure. Unlike my family, both Carol and Thomas ask before using my pens, my chair, my time. The contrast is startling. That evening, I calculate fair market rent, adjusting for utilities and maintenance costs. I print the formal lease adjustment notice, the paper warm and crisp in my hands. Thomas has reviewed it. My property rights are clear. I slide the document into an envelope and write my parents' names on the front, their names, not Mom and Dad. The pen feels unusually heavy in my hand, but my writing is firm, each letter distinct. I seal the envelope with a single decisive press of my thumb. Tomorrow, everything changes. Next day, I place the leather portfolio containing the lease documents on the kitchen table with the precision of a chess player making a decisive move. My parents glance up from their morning coffee, expressions shifting from casual welcome to cautious confusion. What's this? My father reaches for the folder, but I keep my hand firmly on top. This is a formal lease agreement. My voice remains steady as I open the portfolio and slide the documents toward them. Since you've been living here for 5 years without any formal arrangement, it's time we establish clear terms. My mother's coffee cup clatters against its saucer. A lease? Maura, what are you talking about? This is family. Yes, and family deserves clear boundaries. I methodically explain each term, pointing to the highlighted sections. Rent will be $2,100 monthly, which is actually below market rate for this neighborhood. Utilities will no longer be bundled into our informal arrangement. You'll be responsible for your portion. And any guests staying longer than 2 nights require my approval as the property owner. My father's face transforms from dismissal to concern as I continue. His eyes narrow, then widen as he flips through the pages, pausing on the signature line. This isn't necessary, he says, pushing the papers away. We've always had an understanding. The understanding was that this would be temporary while you got back on your feet after retirement. I tap the final page. It's been 5 years. This is the market rate for this neighborhood. Thomas confirmed it last week. Who's Thomas? My mother's voice rises slightly. My colleague in real estate. I don't elaborate on our friendship or how he helped me draft these documents. Payment is due on the 1st of next month. I stand, gathering my car keys from the counter. I have to get to work. We can discuss this further tonight if you'd like. The front door closes behind me with a satisfying click, leaving them with the reality of what I've just done. 2 days later, my phone rings while I'm reviewing structural plans at my desk. My Aunt Susan's name flashes on the screen. Mara, honey, what's going on with you and your parents? Her voice carries the forced lightness of someone treading carefully. Your mother called me quite upset. Says you've turned cold suddenly, demanding rent after all these years. I take a deep breath. Did she happen to mention why I finally decided to charge them rent? No, just that it came out of nowhere. That you're not yourself lately. Ask her about my parents' anniversary trip, I say, surprising myself with my directness. Ask who planned it, who paid for it, and who ended up going. The silence stretches long enough that I check to see if the call dropped. I see, she finally says. Your mother mentioned something about a lovely trip Ezra arranged. I worked overtime for 2 months to afford that $7,800 package. I found the exact French bistro from their honeymoon. I planned every detail. My voice remains level despite the pressure building in my chest. Then Ezra gave my seat to his girlfriend without asking, and my parents didn't say a word about it. Another silence, but different this time. I had no idea, Maura. Her tone has shifted from concerned to sympathetic. That explains quite a bit. After we hang up, I return to my blueprint review, feeling strangely lighter. That evening, my father corners me in the garage as I'm unloading groceries. After all we've done for you, he begins, his voice low and serious. This is how you repay us? Something inside me snaps into perfect clarity. What exactly have you done for me? His face reddens. We raised you. We gave you everything. Let me show you something. I set down the grocery bags and lead him to my home office. From my filing cabinet, I pull a folder labeled Family Support and hand it to him. Inside is an itemized list of every bill I've paid, every loan I've covered, every expense I've shouldered since they moved in, the mortgage payments they've never contributed to. Ezra's community college tuition. The 3 times I paid his rent when he forgot. My father stares at the pages, silent. This totals over $150,000 in 5 years, I say quietly. So yes, please tell me what I'm being ungrateful for. He leaves the room without another word, but I notice he takes the list with him. Next morning, a text arrives from my mother. Your father and I have discussed your proposal. We're willing to pay half the requested rent if you'll return to being part of the family. I stare at the message, the familiar weight of manipulation settling on my shoulders. Should I compromise for peace, or stand firm on my new boundaries? That afternoon, Carol from work notices me staring at my phone during lunch. Family drama? She asks, sliding into the chair across from me. When I explain the counter-offer, she nods knowingly. They're hoping you'll feel guilty enough to cave. Want to practice some responses? For the next half hour, Carol role-plays various emotional appeals my parents might make. Each time, I practice responding calmly, without defensiveness or apology. Remember, she says as we pack up, they're counting on you reacting emotionally. That's how they've always gotten their way before. Later that evening, Thomas calls to check in. How did they take the lease? About as well as expected, I say, settling onto my porch swing. They've counter-offered half rent in exchange for my compliance. I can be there when they come to discuss it, he offers. Sometimes having a neutral third party prevents manipulation. His support, along with Carol's, reinforces my conviction. My boundaries aren't unreasonable, they're necessary. 2 days later, Ezra shows up at my door without Win. His usual confident smile is replaced by something more tentative. Got a minute? He asks, hands in his pockets like when we were kids, and he wanted to admit breaking something. I thought maybe we could talk, like we used to. I noticed the shadows under his eyes, the slight dishevelment of his usually perfect hair. Sure, I say, stepping back to let him in, noticing the absence of Win's usual posts tagging him on Instagram, the growing strain visible in his recent photos. My phone buzzes with a text from my father. Family meeting tomorrow at 6. We need to discuss recent misunderstandings. I set the phone face down on the counter and turned to my brother, waiting to hear what he has to say. Tomorrow, the doorbell chimes at precisely 6 o'clock. I smooth my hands over the stack of documents on the coffee table before crossing to the entryway. When I open the door, my mother thrusts a glass dish toward me, the familiar scent of butterscotch pudding wafting upward. "Your favorite?" she announces, her smile too bright, too forced. "Just like I used to make for your birthday." Behind her, my father shifts from foot to foot, his gaze darting toward the manila folder tucked under my arm. Ezra trails in last, hands jammed in his pockets, looking everywhere but at me. I lead them into the living room, the same space where they've lived rent-free for 5 years. The same space where I've disappeared into the background of my own life. "We brought dessert," my mother says, setting the pudding on the coffee table, deliberately covering the corner of my lease papers. "Let's enjoy that first, shall we?" My father clears his throat. "Look, honey, we've been talking. This whole rent situation, it's just a misunderstanding." "We thought maybe half the amount you proposed," my mother interjects, folding her hands in her lap. "Put this unpleasantness behind us. Get back to being a family." "That worked for everyone before," Ezra adds, finally looking up. "Why change things now?" My father leans forward, his voice dropping. "Besides, don't forget our contribution to this house. We helped you with the down payment." The lie hangs in the air between us. They've never contributed a dime. I don't respond immediately. Instead, I reach for the accordion folder beside me, unfold it across my lap, and begin removing documents one by one. "This is my mortgage," I say, placing the paper on the table. "Solely in my name. The down payment came from my savings account. I set down bank statements spanning 5 years. Here's every deposit and withdrawal." My mother's mouth opens, but I continue without pause. This folder contains receipts for family expenses I've covered. I flip it open to reveal hundreds of neatly organized slips. Ezra's community college tuition, Dad's medical bills after the insurance gap, Mom's car repairs, the new water heater last winter, the property taxes every year. I pull out a leather-bound notebook. My maintenance log showing I've been solely responsible for the property upkeep. Finally, I place the anniversary trip receipt beside a printed screenshot of my mother's Facebook post. $7,800 for the trip Wynn took my place on. The trip that became my gift from Ezra. My voice remains steady. "I'm not angry that you took my gift. I'm setting boundaries because you didn't even notice you'd taken anything at all." The silence in the room grows thick enough to touch. My mother looks down at her hands. My father stares at the evidence of his dependence spread across the coffee table. "We always appreciated," my mother begins. "Appreciation isn't the same as respect," I say. "You've been living in my home for 5 years without contributing. You've taken my financial support while praising Ezra for his potential. You replaced me on a trip I spent months planning and didn't think I'd mind." Ezra shifts uncomfortably on the couch. "Wynn left me," he blurts out, "last week. Said I wasn't ambitious enough. That I needed to get my act together." The irony almost makes me laugh. Almost. "I can't make rent on my own," he continues, eyes pleading. "Could I crash here for a while? Just until I figure things out?" I notice how quickly they've pivoted from defending their position to seeking more help. How quickly they've moved from dismissing my boundaries to trying to circumvent them entirely. "I'm not your safety net anymore," I say, pulling a sheet of paper from beneath the stack. "Here's a list of apartments in your budget. The application fee is $30. References are required." I hand it to him. He takes it, mouth slightly open. "You can't be serious," my father says, his voice rising. "After all we've done for you." "What exactly have you done for me?" I ask. The question isn't bitter or angry. It's genuine curiosity. He doesn't answer. My mother stands abruptly, the dessert forgotten. "We're still your parents. You can't just—" "I can," I say, "and I am." They leave without touching the butterscotch pudding, their silence more telling than any argument. My father's shoulders slump in a way I've never seen before. My mother's lips press into a thin line. Ezra clutches the apartment list like it might dissolve in his hands. The door closes behind them with a soft click that echoes through the suddenly empty house. 1 week later, an envelope arrives bearing the letterhead of Abbott and Finnegan, attorneys at law. Inside, a vaguely worded letter claims my parents have shared occupancy rights due to their long-term residence. I forward it to the attorney I consulted before presenting the lease. Her response comes within hours. This has no legal standing whatsoever. They're grasping at straws. Standing at my kitchen window that evening, cup of tea warming my palms, I noticed something new in the yard of my parents' neighbor's house, a "for rent" sign, freshly planted in the well-kept lawn. I wonder if my family will choose relationship repair or continued entitlement. The answer, I suspect, is already taking root across the street. I know exactly what to do. The morning light streams through the tall windows of my loft, painting golden rectangles across the exposed brick wall. 3 months since I moved out of my house that my parents still occupy, now as paying tenants and into this open space across the river. The silence feels different here, purposeful rather than hollow. I run my fingers along the smooth concrete countertop I installed myself last weekend. No one helped me. No one criticized the slight unevenness at the corner. The accomplishment belongs entirely to me. My phone buzzes on the nightstand, and I notice the notifications have changed. No desperate text from Ezra about another failed job interview. No passive-aggressive reminders from Mom about family dinners I'm choosing to miss. Instead, Carol asking if I'm still on for tonight's photography class. Thomas sending a listing for a mid-century modern chair he spotted at an estate sale, and my new neighbor Janice confirming tomorrow's coffee. On my refrigerator hangs a calendar marked with my plans, not obligations to others. A weekend trip to Lake Superior next month. The pottery class I've wanted to take for years. Financial planning sessions for the investment property I'm considering. The absence of family crisis management has left room for growth I never knew was possible. The embossed envelope arrives that afternoon. My cousin Vicky's 25th anniversary celebration, 6 weeks from now. Before, I would have immediately rearranged my schedule, volunteered to handle decorations, and offered to drive my parents. I'd have spent weeks selecting the perfect gift, only to have Mom suggest we all go in together, on something Ezra picked. Today, I select a lovely serving platter from my favorite artisan shop, write a sincere note, and mark the date with photography exhibit, final project due, in bold letters. I seal the package without a twinge of guilt. I decide where my energy goes now. I whisper to the empty room. The words feel strange on my tongue, but right in my heart. My worth no longer measured by what I provide to others, but by the balance I maintain between generosity and self-preservation. Later that evening, the loft fills with laughter. Carol raises her glass in the center of my new living room, surrounded by Thomas, Janice from downstairs, and the couple from 3B who helped me carry my couch up 4 flights when the elevator broke. To foundations that support rather than sink, Carol announces, her eyes meeting mine with understanding. These people choose to be here, expect nothing beyond my company, and offer the same in return. To chosen family, I add, surprising myself with the steadiness in my voice. The morning of my first Thanksgiving in the new space, I knead bread dough with flour-covered hands. The table is set for 6, none of them sharing my last name. My phone pings with a text from my mother. We miss who you used to be. My hands still over the dough. 6 months ago, these words would have sent me spiraling into guilt and self-doubt. Today, I see them for what they are: nostalgia for my compliance, not for me. I wipe my hands and type. You miss the version of me who never said no. She's gone. After sending the message, I place a yellow post-it note on my bathroom mirror, pressing firmly to make it stick. I owe myself the most. As I prepared to celebrate my first holiday season on my own terms, I wondered, does breaking unhealthy family patterns mean losing family altogether? Or is it the only way to build something genuine? What would you have done if you were in my place?